Awesome. Jim, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and start, and then afterwards we'll get some questions.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys. Pleasure to be able to share with you some of the thoughts I have on digital analytics. As it was said, in the intro, I've been working with, for over 20 years, really large companies and helping them with digital strategy. We moved up to North Idaho about 10 years ago, and I've tried to switch gears and not have to obviously be on the road so much. And so I kind of applied the principles that we did with big companies to our little company. So my wife had a little yarn shop and said, why don't we apply that to Alpaca Direct? I don't know if any of you have ever been on our website or been to the physical store. So we actually ended up closing the store, just so you know, and have an online pickup, but I won't tell you why. And our dashboard actually showed us some analytics around that. And so we were only online. Our sales are up 50%. So the COVID actually for us has been from a revenue side, has been actually a strength in that sense. And so I know that there's some challenges each one of you may have, but we didn't just, get lucky. We've had to do a whole lot of work to create those close examples of physical presence, but do it digitally. So make people feel like they're connected to us, but do it through a digital medium. And so I use, and my wife and I tag team so that, and I'll just kind of get to this slide. We kind of tag team on how to actually make that happen. So the talk today is going to be simple steps you can do today to succeed with analytics. And I know sometimes people think analytics is boring. It's just a bunch of reports and, make your eyes roll. But it actually is critical for you to be successful in this time. And you got to remember, especially if you're in any online business or you're competing with online, you're competing with companies who have entire teams. In fact, my clients, they'll have teams, I have teams of 40, 50 people that just do this every day. So, in a small business in North Idaho, you're competing in a much bigger market. So it's going to be, we'll talk about why you want to do it, how to get started. I'm going to just show you dashboards that we use. So trying to make this really practical. I'm just going to tell you, I tried to hide stuff. Hopefully I hit everything I could so that, we don't show any personal information. But I want you to see what we're doing as a small business in Idaho and how we're using those dashboards to guide the business. And then finally, how do you measure the results and actually take action on the dashboard? So hopefully that's going to be useful to you today. First thing you got to start with, before you even start your dashboards is kind of figure out what your goals are. So from the digital marketing standpoint, understanding, what it is. Are you trying to get more customers? Who is your customer? And that's always the biggest thing is understanding and getting laser focused on what customer you're actually selling to. And are you getting more sales, more, leads, more whatever from that customer or not? And does your product value, what the service they're delivering, is it in line with that particular customer? And one of the things that our businesses probably struggle with, I'm a techie guy, is that we'd go into a lot of different channels, a lot of different places to try to get more sales. And I've actually been working with SBC here, the group in NIC, to try to figure out you're getting more sales, but you're really not. Maybe these aren't some of the best customers, and my dashboards make that really clear. You might be trying just to get brand awareness. So maybe you get people to know what your organization or your business is about. I know the Idaho Century, you guys do tons of brand awareness. I go to a parade, and those are hard right now, but you got the big trucks and you have the flashing things along 95. So all those are important, but there's digital ways to do this as well. More sales again. Some people, they don't want sales. I work with companies and I've looked at places where we put people in the home, they come into our branch, whatever, but we want more leads. We have leads, we'll take it from there. So just being clear what you need. One of the biggest things I've seen with a lot of businesses is they get a lot of leads, but they're lousy leads. So you actually, and one company I'm working with, they found it cost them about $600 to hunt down or to deal with a lead. And so, when they were getting more of them, they actually were getting more leads, but they were losing more money because they had so many bad leads that they were sending salespeople out. And then finally, things like product education, letting people understand about your product itself. So if you look at this, as far as let me actually minimize this. Hang on a second, I'm going to make that smaller. Okay, so if you look at Peter Drucker, which I'm an old guy, so for those of you who don't Google him, look him on Wikipedia as the father of management, basic manager principles. Said if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So analytics give us the ability to start measuring it so that we actually know if we're getting closer. So his 5 questions, just going back to the basics, everyone knows what's your mission. So what is it we're trying to accomplish? What's our goal? Where are we going? Who's the customer, as they said? What does that customer actually value? And that's going to be reflected in your NPS score. I'll show you those things, your retention levels, your balances, all that. Again, what are we expecting for results and what's your plan? So the dashboards are going to just think about like a car that, you're driving, you're going to get to Boise, but I'm on empty, or I'm on a quarter tank. I'm not going to get to Boise on a quarter tank, right? So that's a bit of a challenge. So the dashboard is just like the dashboard on your car. You don't need everything, but you need to have enough of information to get you where you want to go. All right. So hopefully you guys are following me so far. Is this making sense so far? All right. So if you look at our more common guy, new guy, is Elon Musk. So when all the millennials are looking for him, he says failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you must not be inventing enough. So he's a kind of that's something where on the other side, here's Peter Drucker measure it, and this guy is saying, push it to the limits. If we're not failing, then we're not doing it. So you need to know when you're failing and when you're going to fail, and you need to know directions that you're doing it as well. So I put this into place, and you guys may have seen this before, but Google made us like their little poster child for Idaho. They did a whole expose on Kelly, my wife, that's her feeding the alpacas. And, they made us the poster child for online businesses in Idaho. Did a thing with Senator Rich as well, where he put us on this cover of a small guide business. So we they thought we were great. And I think we did. We've done a lot, but in retrospect, I think there's even a lot more that we could do. My experience where I'm speaking to you as a small business owner, as I said, that we've had some success here in North Idaho, but the reality is that there's a lot more to it than that. And when you look at it yourself, you're really busy, right? You need to make the right decisions quickly and correctly. And when I look back at my experience in user experiences call, working with very big companies, I know you mentioned some of the e-commerce businesses, but I've done this as well. The ones that I was thinking about when I did this slide presentation, the ones I really think of, like the really critical ones, is if you make a wrong decision, you're going to die. Or if you make a wrong decision, a lot of people die. And so 2 of the projects that I worked on quite a bit in my career was the F-15 fighter cockpit and the training systems for Boeing. So we actually helped design this system so that we could train people on how to fly these and it was in Missouri, so in St. Louis. So I worked with that team, and I'm not saying you need a cockpit like this, but the reality was that this is not that much different than your analytics. They have data, and they have to know how to look at these gauges, and they have to know when they're going to hit a mountain, and we have to do things like flip on an engine failure and an incoming SAM, and then see if they crash. So you're going to have this cockpit, but the reality is I've taken a lot of my expertise of that, and then I also did work with NASA Mission Control on the space shuttle. So we worked on the gimbal thruster stuff, and both of these use a lot of dashboards. So I come from a kind of getting to work with these multi-million-dollar projects, but also then apply this again to this little business in North Idaho and make it practical. So that's my background, where I'm come from. So the first thing I want you to understand is by putting these analytics together and using them effectively, it allows you to work on the business and not in the business. And I know you guys, you're working really hard. You're probably, working every day, and you're wondering, how do I even have time to look at some reports? And what I'd say is I make time every day, but I make these dashboards so that these guys, this guy doesn't go read a report and then figure out if he's going to, pull the plane up. Right? He's got to be doing it real time to make sure that he doesn't die. So that's my framework for how you use analytics. You use them real time to drive the ship. Okay. So the first thing that I always try to do is when my analytics is I try to get the right perspective, and I just try to keep it really simple, you guys. I like there's the bird's eye view where I can look over and see something, and if I see a problem, then I want to dive down into the rat's eye view. In the rat's eye view, if I'm in the maze, I want to look in the detail and go, hey, what's going on? I know many times you guys, I feel like that when you're working in the business, you're in the maze. You can't even see, the forest from the trees. So the analytics give you that chance to kind of look above it all and go, there's something interesting there. Why did our Why did our retention go down? Why are we not why are all of a sudden we're not getting the same close rate? Why are leads dropping off? We're not closing them. Whatever the questions that you're asking, why is that happening? And then I want to be able to quickly dive down into the detail to figure out what it is specifically and look at it from multiple perspectives to make it work. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay. So first thing I do, and I'm just going to show you some dashboards. These are ones I use. And I know you guys are going to say, this guy's crazy. He has all these, because mine looks more like that 15 fighter cockpit. But I literally scan through these different dashboards, and I go, this one's good, this one's fine, this hasn't changed, this is good, this isn't, there's a problem. And then I go down to the rat side view, and I dig into it, and I figure out what that problem is. That's how I work. That's my mental model. First thing I'd say is start with the free tools. I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff that doesn't cost you anything. Okay, keep it really simple. Don't get into the F15 stuff. Then identify your key performance indicators for your area of your organization. Now, you may be working in a credit union. You're looking at your branch or your area within a branch or your store, your dealership. And then I actually schedule daily and weekly times. I have at Friday morning, every Friday morning at 7 a.m., I look at my SEO. I don't stare at it every day and go, oh no, I dropped a position. Oh no, I raised a position. I look at it every week and say, am I on the right track or not? And then I put things in, then I put a little plan together. Okay, I'm going to do these 3 things to see if I can move the needle. If you sit and stare at it every day, you just threw yourself down into the rat's maze again. And all you're going to do is bury you with details. Okay, so the next thing I do is this is an example of a dashboard that we use, my other company, Classic, and we offer this to small businesses. So we actually figured out, because I had all these dashboards, people weren't actually looking at them. So we came up with a way to create a digital dashboard that has the key things that are important for companies, especially in local marketing, that actually let them see right at a glance, here's my social reach, you can see my mouse here. Here's my, here's my engagement, and here's my lead. So here's my lead funnel, my marketing funnel, right? How much am I actually getting out there? How much of it is engagement? How much is turning into leads? And then from there, you can go into sales. So we have a whole bunch of different things where we brought it into one. This is not a free one. This is a paid one, but it's actually really useful. So this is called a Classic Digital Dashboard. This is an example of where you may have people say, well, why don't we get listed? We need to no one even finds us when they Google us. Well, we have tools, for instance, that let you, tell you where are your listings, all the different listings that are out there. And then where are you, not only where are you, like, oh, you've got a list of 100 places, but where are you compared to your industry average? So you want to always be able to see where are you compared to peers of like type businesses. So try to always, remember I said perspective? We're listed in 50 places. What does that mean? If your competitor's listed in 200 places that are better, then you're still not doing very well. So I always like comparative analysis. So one of the things that I'll say right here is dashboards. So write this down. Dashboards should not tell you what, but they should answer why. And most dashboards, and most times people get reports, all they tell you is, sales are down, or we're not getting leads, but they don't give you the insight to tell you like why it is. And so think about how you can go back to your tech guys or wherever you're working with and say, tell me what just buries me in more details. That throws me back in the rat's maze. I need to be able to see why. Give me some views and perspectives that let me understand why something is the way it is. So here's another example of listings. I like to see things over time because that shows me trends. And I like to see data overlays so I can know, in this case, here's my listings. Here's my listings on maps versus search. Here's my listings where people are calling me versus this is a Google one. This is just using Google Places, actually. So this is actually free data you can get. So this is my first free tool. I'd recommend you really start learning this. It's called Google Analytics. If you haven't done it, make sure your people are tagging it correctly. I can only see a few hands, so I see a few people in my search, but if you use Google Analytics, raise your hands. At least I know some people are using it. If you're using it effectively. This is an incredibly powerful tool. 10 years ago, this would cost you like $3,000 a month just to have something like that. You just put the thing on your site, and all of a sudden you can create, and I'm going to include my mouse over here. So it's a dashboard. I create my own dashboard. So I have a mobile e-commerce dashboard. I have an S dashboard. I have a marketing funnel dashboard. So these are all things that literally you don't pay anything as long as you have tagging, and then you can create your own dashboard based on what you're looking to do. So, and there's even some templates you can get out there where people have built ones, just like you get with Word templates. They've built these templates, and you can actually use them and tweak them for yourself. Okay? So just go through a couple more of these. So site performance. So I'm looking, Page is slow. Well, that's a what, right? Our page is slow. That's the problem. Why? So I want to start looking at specifically why. Well, it looks like on Chrome, my page load time or Android web view, I'm just looking at this right away. And then, I've got now, this tells me if I look down here, just trying to be practical with you guys. Okay, these are really slow, 8.57. But if you look at my sessions, there's hardly any. Look at, I'm hitting all these Apple people on Safari. So, and they're using Chrome. So I'm always playing the 80-20 rule so that these dashboards are going to say, I'm going to focus right here and laser focus on this and see how I can make this better, as opposed to chasing down something we're on Edge browser, which is the Microsoft. No one uses that, right? So these dashboards are going to give you a lot of more insight into, again, how do you take action so that you don't get buried in details and do all this work, and at the end of the day, it didn't really make a difference. Okay? These are Google Analytics dashboards. Does that make sense? So you can have this for your business. You can actually get them to give you access and get them to give you access so you can build your own dashboards. These are built not so you have to beg IT to build it for you. This is something you can have yourself. Just get them to give you access. This is another one. This is in Google Analytics. Okay. And also, I didn't show it here, but in Google Analytics in this date range, all these date ranges, they let you do a comparison. So I can say this is last week. I just did these a couple days ago. I can actually say compared to this week last year or this week last month. So it's easier to do this and do these what if analysis. So in this case, I'm trying to see like, where am I getting my leads from? Where are my site visitors coming? I'm always looking at this. Now, here's the dirty secret I didn't mention. Hey, we were focused as Google. We were the poster child of Google. Well, that's because we were paying a ton of money with Google ads. We were paying up to $30,000 a month. So we were the poster child. Everyone wants to be like us. Yeah, we're paying $30,000 a month in ads. Well, as much as I love Google, I don't want to pay any money in Google ads. So I have a big focus over the last 2 years of driving that organic search up and getting my paid ad spend way down. Our paid ad spend is down 80%. So we're not a Google poster child program anymore, but we're a whole lot more profitable. Okay. So again, that was because we got clear what is it we're trying to do. Now, I have specific areas. When you say know your customers, my wife sells to knitters. Well, knitting has, as any of you guys may, if you're a knitter, you notice that look at our biggest source of leads here is Ravelry, right? Ravelry is a social network for knitters. So that tells you just about data, and that tells me that, but I also have kind of a high bounce rate. So that's an interesting thing. So if I was like, for my 30-second, let me review where my traffic's coming from, I'm going to make a to-do that says, let me reduce my bounce rate on Ravelry and see if I can increase my engagement there. So that just tells me there, that's where I'm going to spend my time. I'm just trying to give you guys an insight of how I use these dashboards because that's where I'm going to get my money. Okay. And I have tracking. So we have tracking and all this. You guys may not even have, if you don't have tracking, you won't even know this. You won't even know where your leads are coming from in the first place. So you got to first do that. Then you can figure out, okay, now that I have the data, what do I actually do with it? Here's another one. This is just an overview. This is an e-commerce dashboard. So I just did this yesterday or 2 days ago. So anyhow, so good news is you can see our sales are up 70% for the month, these 2 weeks, for the last 2 weeks. You can see, so that's even week over week, we're doing great. I can see where my traffic is. I can see my trends. So I actually look at this dashboard probably 3 times a week. I look at my conversion rates. So our conversion rate now is 4.79. Industry average is 3. You need to know your industry averages. How many Octavian, you're the work of the branch. How many people who walk into a branch and ask for, some sort of a product, a car product, whatever, how many actually convert? I don't know. If you don't know that for the industry, then how do you know where you're at? Oh, we're at 50%. Well, everyone else is at, 80. Well, you're not doing very well, right? So you need to know where you're at compared to, I know 3% is the industry average. We're at 4.79. I want to be at 6. So I'm not really happy with that number. At least I know where I'm at. And I know what I can do. Okay. So we also have a retention program where we have a membership. So I'm always looking at my customer survey, looking at, I'm getting a little echo, by the way, for someone.
Hey guys, can you make sure you're on mute?
Yeah. So this is for. So
I recommend checking out BetterHelp. BetterHelp is not a
1 second.
Now it's quiet. Okay. All right. So this is a kind of another dashboard I use for memberships. If you have a membership program, we're always looking at how many new customers. We're looking at retention. What's our churn rate? Again, you need to know what's the average churn rate for your membership program, and are you doing better or worse? I also like to build into my dashboards these indicators. So if you look over here, the number again is one thing, but is it down or up? Right? Is it going down or up? And what does that mean? This is the most critical thing. And if you notice, I have this on every one of my dashboards. Is it getting better or getting better but worse, and by how much? So I try to always build this in, not just the raw numbers. So that way otherwise every one of these dashboards, you got to drill into it and figure out, oh, actually it's not that bad. I'm actually up. So boil that up to here so you're not doing that yourself. Okay.
Hey, Tim,
So,
we have 4 questions real quick. Before you go forward, can we address those, or do you want to wait till the end?
Yeah, we're fine. Good.
It's regarding these dashboards. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
You want me to? I can do it, Sherry, if you want.
do it? Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So we have a question that is, how do we choose a dashboard, classic versus e-commerce?
So the classic dashboard I showed you, that first one, that's a service actually our company offers to small businesses, but that brings it all together and we do it for you. So if you don't want to deal with it, and you know that I'll do all this work and no one's going to look at it, or no, I'm never going to get it. We've been asking for this for 3 years and never happened. Then that's a kind of a paid service. If you think you can do it yourself, I would definitely start with the Google Analytics because it's free and you can control it yourself. But it takes a learning curve to use Google Analytics. And the other thing I would tell you with Google Analytics, there's a lot of YouTube versions or videos out there and stuff, but it changes so much. Google's always changing it. So you just kind of be aware of that and understand that you'll be watching a video and like, I'm looking at their screens and this is like not at all. In fact, I'm matching what Google Analytics I'm looking at. I just got they just revamped it again. So Google, but here's the cool part. You've got a billions of dollar company that's taking the best and brightest minds, and they are giving you this free tool that literally would have cost you $3,000-4,000 a month 10 years ago. So that's great. So in fact, what we do with our dashboard, the Cosmic dashboard, is we actually hook into Google Analytics. We just pull it all together in one place. Okay.
Awesome. Next question is, when you say get them to let you use Google Dashboard, what does that entail? And do you send Google an email? Can you explain that in more detail?
Oh, wow. Okay, good question. So no, you can't send Google. You have to go to your IT person. It's a feature of, it's a free. So if you have your own small business, you can just sign up and say, I want to have Google Analytics, and no credit card required, free. Okay. If you're in a big company, most likely you would go to your IT people and say, do we have Google Analytics installed? And you're going to have an IT guy say yes, and don't mess with it. I do that. Right. So you can say, okay, I'm not asking you. And if you get a little more savvy, you can ask, like, how are you tagging it? And they might get defensive or not. But, they'll say, oh, yeah, we're tagging it. We can take care of it. Let us know what you want. That's a hard discussion because you may feel like you're stepping on their turf. But if you have a good relationship, say, you know what? I know you're doing a lot of great stuff, but you guys are overwhelmed. If you could just give me access to the dashboards and let me create my own dashboards with the data, that's what you would do. It's your IT people. You would ask them to give you access to the Google dashboards and let you create your own dashboards. They would be for you only, maybe not the company. So they can set it up, say this is a company dashboard and this is your dashboard. That's how I would do it. If you're a small business, you don't have to go to anyone. You just sign up for it, add the tagging. If you have WordPress, it's super simple. They give you a little piece of code. You snip it into your plugin. You have some sort of an SEO plugin, most likely. You'll put the code in, and then it's going to start appearing. Like Moz, or there's a bunch of those. Okay.
And last one, does the size of the business determine the best digital platform option?
I actually don't think so. Here's why. I've worked with billion-dollar companies, and we'll get Adobe Analytics. And I was in this position where we did this. We had just about 2 years ago with a client. So they had a contract, and I like Adobe, and we were using all their analytics. And I was meeting with one of the executives, and he signed this $100,000 a year. And I'm honestly, you know what? We can get 97% of this with Google Analytics for free. So I had this and this was a bad company. I was $800 million. Okay, and I was actually overseeing the digital for it. So here's a product, especially Google Analytics, that scales from little tiny companies to the biggest companies in the world use it. So now the classic dashboard is more geared toward local and it's more geared toward local small businesses right now. That's what it's geared toward. So that's a very specific market, and the dashboards are built for those businesses. So that classic dashboard we have I would never take that to Land's End and say, hey, you guys, you should use this. It's actually built for small business who said, look, here's my stuff, help me get it going, and I want to look at this dashboard and just make it happen. Okay, so that's the difference. Anything else?
Thank you. You can go
Okay,
ahead.
so I'll use that as a lead in. So this is a dashboard using Google Data Studio. So once you master Google Analytics, the next level is Google Data Studio. Again, this is free. Now, I mean, I didn't get into the contract, so maybe if you're like a huge company like Facebook, they probably charge them. But for you, you can learn Google Data Studio. It's another level of learning, but you can then take the data out of Google Analytics and use a whole data basically this very high-end tool that actually lets you manipulate the data and create your own custom dashboards even beyond what's in Google Analytics. This is a very sophisticated tool. So when I work with very big companies, there's whole teams who use Google Data Studio. I never would have recommended this to small businesses, but they revamped it about a year ago. And now it's actually pretty easy to create these really nice little dashboards and then send a link to the executives and say, here's where we're at. And they just click on the link and they look at it. So Google Data Studio is, again, was for very big companies who are doing data modeling and all kinds of stuff. And now they made it pretty easy for you to do it yourself. And so I'm just using an example, and I actually use it. So I use this. So this is a PPC that's paid ad spend. So I look at across all my channels. So you're buying ads on Facebook and Google and Microsoft Bing and whatever. And I pull it all together and look at what's my average CPC, my clicks, my click-through rate, order value, what's my my return, et cetera, and my cart conversion rate. So, kind of interesting. Look at that. My cart conversion on my paid ads is 3%. On my organic was 4.7. Isn't that interesting? Because the salespeople will tell you, well, you're getting all this organic traffic, but it doesn't convert. You need to buy the ads, and then you'll get great sales, get great leads. So you can say, well, actually, that's not what we're showing. Okay. So here's another example. Okay, this is a paid tool too. So SEMrush is a good tool. It's about $200 a month. This is what I use. It's my go-to tool for SEO. And the reason it's let me go into really good detail. So remember I said I'm flying like an eagle and I'm looking at trends, but then I want to look in and say, like, what can I do to really increase the SEO on our site? And the SEMrush is a great tool, but it is not free. They give you some free things. I mean, there's probably these trials, but you'll get hooked if you're really focused on SEO. By far, to me, that's the best tool. I use Moz. SEO Moz and some other ones, but I always keep going back to SEMrush, and I don't like paying $200 a month, but I still do because it has so much value. Okay, so I'm looking at what's bringing me sites, what are the backlinks, what's bringing me traffic, where have we gone up or down in what's converting, what's not converting, more mobile, etc., and that affects our strategy. Another great area I'm really excited about is YouTube. So if you guys are doing videos, we have put a lot of push into YouTube. So YouTube just, like 4 months ago, switched to a whole YouTube studio. They rewrote the whole product, called the old one, and they have a really good analytics. Now they actually show you when you launch a video real time, like how is it performing, like launching a movie, how many people are attending, and what's the engagement. So you can get real time. So right away, I do use this once a week. I look at what's my engagement. And I love this little thing. Like instead of telling you, they feel like I'm meeting with with an assistant. They're like, Jim, yeah, we had 41,000 people viewed the videos this week. This is just yesterday, just 2 days ago, I pulled this off. 42,000 people viewed our videos. Same about as usual. See that's critical. Do you understand what that means? What does that mean? Without that just tells me I don't have to dive in and go it's worse or it's way better. It's like the same. Okay, that's all I need to know. I'm driving to Boise. Yeah, now you're at half a tank. Same about as usual. The gas is going like crazy, or the tires is going. Now the tires are down to 20 pounds of pressure. I'm not going to make it to Boise, right? So it's dropping off. Now I'm going to dive into this, and you can dive into each of these. My watch time. Wow, people are watching it. Why is that 40.2 more than usual? Why? What did I do? So I'm going to dive into that and figure out what was engaging. Why did people watch these videos this week more than others? Really good analytics. Again, free. Doesn't cost you anything. Okay, NPS score. So this is our tools. Again, this is a classic tool, but there are ways that you can get net promoter score. Do you guys know what that is? How likely would the customer refer you to a friend, basically? This tells you, boils up when people really like you and will they refer you, right? Oh, you're going to get a car loan? Oh, I know where to go, right? So we're at, what is, Apple was at 72. I can't, it's covering it up right there. I was surprised at that. So we're at 94. So I'm very proud of that number. So we're way like above Apple. So people love our products. There's a pitch for Apple. That's for Alpaca Direct. On the other hand, my business coach is going, that's because people love you and you're not charging enough and you're doing too much for free. So, maybe we're being too nice. That was his question back to me. You're delighting people so much that you probably can get more profitability. The best example I can give you for that, guys, is to read the whole case study from Tony Shea at Zappos. Zappos was at $850 million in sales and they could not make payroll. They got bought by Amazon because they filled their buildings up with customer service people telling you buy 4 pairs and return 3. And if you want a pizza, we'll do whatever it takes to make a customer happy. They couldn't make payroll. And they were $1 billion business. And he was going to get kicked out. Sequoia Capital, I know the whole inside story. And Amazon came in and bought him for pennies on the dollar. It's an Amazon company now. So you may love the Zappos and tell me how great they are. They didn't make money. Okay. So a couple things. This is an email dashboard I use from our email tools. I always look at, we do a lot of emails, so I'm looking at our bounce rate, what's our open rate, which is really high, right? 19.8%. But you have to know what your industry average is for your types of emails. So that way you can take action. It's not engaging. It's too long. It needs pictures. It should be text. You're going to have all these discussions without numbers. You're just poking in the wind, right? So now you actually know I know for every email I send out, I make 0.33 cents. Kind of nice, right? So when I look at, this is the high level, the message I wanted to have you guys here with is this is our data. So I know, so I know a couple things. I know email works for us. So when the guy comes in and says, you need to buy TV ads, that'll work. I'm like, can I measure this? How do I know? This is what I know with my email, right? So, and so then I go into each of the campaigns. This is critical. We tag every single campaign. So where that red arrow is right there, each one of these campaigns has a unique code. So I know the revenue that generated for every single email campaign, and I can track them, and I know what money it came in. I know how many people opened it and why. So this is my mid-level. So my high level is where we're at. Then I go down to the mid-level and I look at individual campaigns and how they're performing. Okay. And then within that, I may want to actually look at individual customers. Now, this is going to scare you when I hit so don't freak out. But I can actually look at an individual customer. This is Jane Doe. And this is real data. And I can see how many orders she's placed, how many emails she's opened, what her revenue is. I even have analytics that tell me I can predict that over the next year, we're going to make $520 off her. What does that translate to? That translates to our customer service system. When that lady emails us and said, I have a problem with my order, I didn't get my free shipping coupon, whatever, we're going to bend over backwards and make that customer happy. Because I've got $520 that I'm going to, if I tick her off, that's going to, and I already got $1,900, $2,000 she's already spent buying yarn from us. She opens every one of our emails. This is my sticky customer. Going back to the first slide, who is your customer? And I have tags. I didn't show this, but in our customer service system, I have a tag that when that customer, when you pull it up, we have a way that brings into our customer service system. You put her email or number in, pops up. It says, be nice to this customer. I won't kind of show you what it does, but they know, be nice to this customer. They don't have to know why. They never see any of this stuff, but trust me, they know, be nice to this customer. Do what it takes to make her happy. Okay. Is this making sense to you guys? Okay. So the last thing I'd say is that, you can do that. So this is how I drive probably 80% of our behavior that we treat our customers. I mean, I'm not saying you treat different, but, bend over backwards for this customer, right? So the next thing is I can click on everyone. I see what they looked at, et cetera. So, the other thing I mentioned here, I'm not going too fast. We have hundreds of segments. So when you guys go, we did an email blast, hopefully, you spam and pray. Don't do that. So we have hundreds of segments. I know people who are engaged in the last 3 months. I know the people who are rewards members, people who only buy yarn, people who only buy socks, who only bought socks on the last week, who only buy socks and buy multiple pairs of socks and only this time of year. I have so many segments you can shake a stick at. And when we write email, we send emails out. We're very, very targeted. The content reflects that specific segment. So the guy goes, yeah, I feel like you know me. How did you know I wanted that? That's why we get the open rates. That's why we get the conversion rates. If you have people that, we send an email doesn't work, you have a lot more questions to ask, right? There's a lot more you need to do. The dashboards will help you getting there, right? I know right now her churn prediction, 31%, her lifetime value is $2,500. This is a yarn buyer. I mean, this is a someone who buys an $8 product. Think about your products and what the value is.
Hey, Jim, just
Yeah.
real quick question here. Is there a specific email system that they should be looking at using for the
Yeah.
small
Well,
businesses?
this one cost me about $1,000 a month. Okay, so right, it's not cheap. This is not MailChimp. So this one's called Klaviyo, Klaviyo, and they are very tightly integrated with Shopify. So what I would look for is an email system that tightly integrates with your CRM, so that your email is tied to the actions that your website is doing and that your CRM is done. So I have a stack of tools, including my analytics, which is this piece I'm showing you today, that all work seamlessly together. And so my pop-ups, my push notifications, my SMS, I know who wants SMS versus email. I'm not going to get into all that, but my dashboards tell me what works and what doesn't. And so we have personalized behavior for each of those people. So here's does that answer that sense, Octavian? Okay, so the last thing I'll talk about is that you can do way more than that. So what we've actually done is used AI to actually automate this. This is totally cool. So I have digital assistants that run. Now, this takes a huge amount of trust. So you have to trust your data. And I don't do this for everything. So I don't want you to think I'm sitting back there fishing while this is working. But I do have, and I use this, AIs, artificial intelligence tools that will do automatic retargeting. They do retention emails, push notifications. They can do extremely, because you're probably going, Jim, there's no way we have 100 segments. There's no way I can get my IT to do like an email just to those people who bought yarn, that's gray yarn, that like this yarn in this, on this date. Like that's never going to happen. Never. Right. So I have automated tools that actually do this. And what I wanted you to understand is this analytics and the data behind the analytics are the input for AI-driven marketing automation, which is what's happening. The big companies are all doing this. So you're sitting there, they're doing that, and they have got a power saw grinding, and cutting through wood or conveyor belts, and you're doing everything by hand. And you're going, man, I'm working like crazy. And you're not, and Amazon has 300,000 or 400,000 robots in their warehouses. So you may have a warehouse and your people are working their tails off, but they're never going to be as fast as that robot. So you want to be thinking about these tools and seeing what they can do for you to actually make it better. So let's just give you an example. This was yesterday, okay? So my AI sent me a text message on my phone. I just took a screen capture. It says, hi, James. Yesterday, we sold 268 products totaling 3268 for 88 customers. Thank you emails have been sent out to 42 customers. 10 customers also got a separate email that said, thank you for making a second purchase. This all happened without me doing anything. So it told me that information. It sent out the thank you customers. It sent out a different thank you for the 10 customers and said, wow, you bought it, Ken. It was a personalized email from Kelly, my wife. And the people go, wow, I can't believe you followed up. You said you're such a neat company. And then they reply, and then we actually physically reply to them from there, that second purchase. Okay. And now here's another thing that happened. It said, hey, James, you ran a Facebook ad, and it suggested it. And it said, it automatically created an ad based on the data that we have in our site, because we've integrated our website with Facebook. It actually created the ad, gives me a link to the preview. I can click one, and it actually publishes the ad and runs it. It determined based on my audience and my ROI that it should be a $35 budget. All I did was I checked one, and it's done. That's what I did. Do you understand? Do you see the power of this? If I don't trust it, I click on that link, I look at it, I edit it, tweak it a little bit, and then hit one. That's how I'm working. That's how we're doing this. You're like, Jim, it takes me a week just to get to our marketing people. By the time by the time we meet with them, like Black Friday is already over. Do you understand?
Jim, what was the name of that AI?
This is called Kit. It's right there, Kit CRM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kit CRM. Okay. So last thing is, I use the analytics to do review history, look at the past. So just so I don't make mistakes. So here's an example, and this is a failure. So we started doing video back in 2008, and we had all this engagement. It doesn't look like much, but we had engagement. Then I just got distracted, and I wasn't convinced video worked. I can make excuses all day long, but the fact is we stopped doing it. And so we were dead. And then we started videos again in 2017. Look at the data. Okay. If I would have got to Boise a lot faster if I had not stopped in 2013. So use data, use analytic keyboard, use these dashboards to look historically back, not to pine over your failures, but to look at like, is this telling me something that I need to be aware of? And so sometimes when you're wondering like, should we stop video? Is it even working? I'm tired. I don't know if I do one of these. This will tell you those answers. I know we would actually have a much, much higher engagement, much better than we are doing now if I would have not missed those 4 years. We'd be at like a completely different place. But so use it to go back and don't repeat history. How many of you worked in a company where like you feel like we've been down this path 5 years ago and like we're doing the same thing again, right? So that happens, right? So they use it to keep that from happening. Okay. All right. So I'm about finished up here. So I want to go through my favorite tools. I tried to say where they're free. The Google Analytics, I talked about that. Oh, Google Search Console, another one. So Google Search Console is separate from Google Analytics, and it actually is a really good, it's a cheap version of SEMrush. So Google Search Console will tell you where your organic traffic comes, and it'll let you, it actually doesn't let you reindex pages right now, but it tells you where your traffic comes from. It's free. So you can get, if they tell you can't have access, they're full of it. They can give you access, and they can give you access with you only. Okay. Even if you said, Jim, I don't want it, but there's a company that I want access to, your people can give them access and they cannot test anything. All they get is view access. Okay. So that's easy. Google Data Studio, I talked about that one. Again, it's free. And you can get access where people can just view the dashboards, or you can create your own dashboards. SEMrush, I love that again for SEO. So I don't really use Search Console because I use SEMrush and I have way more there. Facebook, I didn't talk about that as much, but Facebook Analytics, they've done a great job with that one. And actually YouTube Analytics too. So I should probably fix the slide. So Facebook and YouTube, I put it down there. YouTube Analytics is good. Facebook really does tell you what's engaging and what's not engaging. For your audience. Facebook can be they're really targeted. By the way, when you have those analytics, you can do incredibly targeted advertising with Facebook, right? You can target people who are looking for Dodge 1500s, literally kind of that level, that live in this zip code. This incredibly scary targeted stuff. Okay. Also for retargeting, you can do a lot of retargeting on Facebook. So if they look at something on your website, they're going to see ads on Facebook. Now, this was not a good thing right before the election because people were turned off and there was so many weird stuff happening. But what I'm seeing is right now I'm seeing a pretty good resurgence of people on that platform. If you have a younger audience, obviously Instagram is really good. So you can, and they're tied together. So the two are together. Instagram, the analytics aren't as good actually. vidIQ is what I use for analytics for YouTube. So YouTube actually has good analytics. I showed you screenshots. And I skipped over that. So sorry, I'm going to go back 1 second. I'm going to show you the YouTube one. I missed that for a second. So this pop over here is vidIQ. So what I like about vidIQ is it's a plugin for Chrome. So it's vidIQ. That is a paid subscription, but literally I can see where we're at a glance right away. I can see if it's trends or minutes watched, what we're doing. And then with a couple of clicks, I can see all my competitors. So, if I'm Idaho Central, how are they looking? How are we compared to Numerica, Wells Fargo, and blah, 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 right? So those are things. And so I can look at any video and see how it's performing. I can get under the scene and say what it's doing or what are they doing. So I use that for competitive analysis as well. So vidIQ, and that's I think it's like $50 a month. It's not a lot of money. And then the classic digital dashboard, we use that. I use that for my company. I use it for other companies, and that again brings everything together. But it's actually just using about other things, and we made it simpler as well. So that was a pretty good run through the different items. The last thing I'll talk about is how to measure success and how do you make sure you're on the right track. As I said, YouTube does give you a lot of stuff. So for instance, on my YouTube with vidIQ, that one tool I just talked about, it gives me a score. And it gives me, do I have controversial keywords? It tells me, do I have the right tags? What's my channel views? It tells me stuff I'm missing. So you're like, because I know how it is. You meet with people and they're like, well, I don't know. No one watches our videos. I'm like, well, have you optimized them? I don't know. They're just not good. People don't watch them. Well, I could say right away, I can look at any video. It doesn't have a proper description. It's too long or too short. It doesn't have end cards. It doesn't have a custom thumbnail. I could go on and on. So these are things that they could do, specific actions you can take that based on those measurements you can make it better. So that's one. So this is another free tool. No, this is from vidIQ as well. Sorry. This tells me when I should release my videos. So this is the peak time when my viewers are watching the video. So do you know when people watch your videos? Do you know when people read your emails? You should know that. And so my tool, for instance, not only sends an email when people watch it, but it sends it when they watch it at their time zone. So I'm one and done. If I'm sending an email tomorrow, I'll be done with that email tonight, and it'll start sending it out at the time you watch it in your time zone. Best optimized for you. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is an example of where I got really focused on SEO. I don't want to spend, $40,000 a month on Google Ads. We really started focusing on how do we actually build SEO, how do we build organic search traffic, and then you measure the results. So focused action based on those dashboards, they let you zero in what you actually need to do, and when you actually start doing it, you start seeing the results. And this is an example of our website, focused action on SEO, 80% reduction in paid ads, huge increase in SEO, and the results show for it. And it shows in the financials bottom line. Because you're going to have bosses as well. How do you pay for this? I'm like, well, pretty good ROI here because this is organic and it converts better. So this is an example of how I use analytics on videos. This is just one that Kelly did. She just launched it. It shows me, this graph shows me how this is doing compared to other videos in our channel. So this is the average of how videos launch in our channel, and this one's stickier. And I'm probably going to want to jump into this and see why that's the case. What is it about this video? Did I have less of an intro, more engaging, better lighting? I don't know. But at least I can see it. And that's, I said, YouTube just revamped this whole thing, and it's awesome. Again, man, I'm serious. 10 years ago, you would pay at a company like thousands of dollars a month for this kind of stuff, and it's like free. Just look at it and just get access to it. Pinterest, same thing. If you're on Pinterest, you can see like we have 250,000 people viewing our stuff on Pinterest. Well, I didn't know that. These women sit and look at balls of yarn on Pinterest. So why does that mean? Okay, interesting. So recap. And the thing is that Pinterest, and I have a project right now. We have like huge engagement. We don't seem to have conversions. What I found was it was weird. So when I went to this dashboard, I'll just tell you the story behind this. I'm like, well, they're not buying yarn. What they were buying was patterns. What I did was I put all these free patterns on Pinterest, and women were looking at the patterns. Said, oh, I want to make this scarf. I want to make this hat. So they get the pattern, and when they get the pattern, then they would find the yarn and get it. So it was indirect, but it actually translated to sale. But the data didn't show me that until I hooked it all together. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. They're on Pinterest to figure out what sweater they want, and then they end up going to us to buy the yarn. So I got to make that conversion to make sure they buy the yarn from us a little bit better. That's kind of my thinking again. Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I had a question. Let's see. What is the average length of your guys' videos?
Great question. So originally, let's go back to here. We actually just did a lot of studies. The industry standard says, 90 seconds, you start losing people. When I watched, and I do usability testing, I did a lot of research in the back. And what I found with these technique videos is you'd go to it's probably like, how do I wash a car? Or how do I detail a car? Or how do I don't know, refinish a cabinet? And you watch it, you'll have this guy, hi, this is John, I'm with my dog Spot, and they talk for 30 minutes until they actually get to show you how to do it, and you see people zooming forward. So I found, I did research and found out, hey, people want to just show me how to do the stitch. Like if, I just get to show me how to do the stitch. So my first research showed me, hey, do these in 1 minute or less. What I actually found was that even though that's what consumers want, optimization with YouTube says if it's 3 minutes, it needs to be 3 minutes or so, or they actually feel like it's low engagement. So even though I felt like, okay, consumers want us to get to the point, if it's 3 minutes, if it's under 3 minutes, they tag it as a low engagement. So we've actually moved to a 3-minute video, but nonetheless, we always skip the, hi, my name is Kelly, and today's really sunny weather and all blah, blah, blah. Now she has a weekly show. I know you were at that talk I did, probably on the video I did for the other chamber. I mean, she has she has 2 videos. These are get to the point, 2 minutes. Here's how to do a really complicated stitch. And she has a weekly live show, which is at 20 minutes. That's the week for our Facebook Lives. That's really good for us, where she does have this engagement back and forth. And they're all a community, and they're sitting at the knitting table, and they like that 20 minutes, and they have a little chat. So we have 2 different models for 2 different types of engagement.
Awesome. And there's another question. are your videos high production or edited videos, and are they more behind the scenes? Any recommendations as far as coming up with content?
So we do the videos, the ones that she does, the weekly shows are right here next to me in our office. We use I set up. I used to use a camera, so my use was a phone. That's how high tech. These were actually that one there was filmed with the phone. So all these close-ups we just use a phone. The phones, the cameras are so good now. It's incredible. Now what we have is a setup now where we do live streaming, and I was getting better quality with a different setup. If you guys are interested, just let me know. Email me. It's more complex, but we have a few lights, but nothing super fancy. We do live streaming with a product called StreamYard. Stream like StreamYard, like a yard. StreamYard.com. It can do live streaming to multiple channels, and I use a GoPro. So we use a GoPro setup where we use lighting, GoPro, and some cables. And so, yeah. So one thing I would say is that you just think about what you're trying to achieve with a video. So we do two things. With ours, Kelly stands in front of them and talks. I don't have that picture of that right here. But then we have an over the shoulder where the people feel like they're sitting next to her. I know many of you are struggling like, Jim, all of our stuff is face to face. I'm so used to sitting with a customer at the table, at the counter, at the table where I have this one-on-one conversation. I get to know them. I see their body language. We feel like I know them. And now it's digital. It's not the same. It's not like email, where I specifically sit over her shoulder and they feel like they're sitting right next to her, that they feel like they're right next to her as she's showing it. And I have people come in from Seattle all over going, I feel like I know you, Kelly. They want to meet her, even though in their warehouse, and they're like, I can't believe I'm getting to meet. I feel like I know you. I watch your videos. And then they feel like, well, I only want to learn from you. So it's this really stickiness that I wasn't aware of. I stumbled into. Huge. Okay. So a recap is keep it simple. Start with the free tools, Google Analytics, YouTube, Facebook. Those are great. They're incredible free tools, and you'll get tons of data. If you want to push it further, use the tools I mentioned. But first, decide what you want to measure. What's most important, and then just use the free tools to those. Is it engagement? Is it leads? Maybe all you need is leads. Maybe you don't need to do close ratios or, conversions. And then set up dashboards for your KPIs that matter to you, or your key performance indicators that matter to you. And then have those consistent review cycles. Some things I review a couple days, some things every month, and some things every week. I actually put reminders in Google Calendar. So I know this is my half hour to look through SEO stuff. And I just glance through it, just like you're looking at a car. Would you drive to Boise and never look at your gas tank? Right? No, you're going to get to McCall and go I think I'm because I'm going to get stuck in some gas station where it's like $5 a gallon if I don't, or whatever, So you're not staring at your gas tank, the gas gauge the whole time, right? So use that kind of as an analogy. And that's what I learned again with the fighter pilots. If they're like staring at their gauges all the time, they're going to get in a wreck, but they knew what to look at when. This is a different level, but that's who I learned from. Okay. And then finally, measure your results and adapt as needed. So make sure you're looking at those and then use it to ask those why questions and then see, is it getting better or worse? Those little up and down arrows tell you, okay, I'm moving in the right direction, or I'm moving away from the right direction. So you know that your marketing is actually working or not working.
Thank you so much.
Make it a priority. I think is that it? Yeah, that's it. So that'll be the question. That's what I have. So, like I said, people say they don't have time, but I would argue that if you don't have time to work on the business, then all you're going to be is working in the business. You're going to be that rat in the maze, and you're going to get tired. And you're working. I can guarantee you, the companies I work with, the bigger companies, they all do that. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Questions.
I would ask. So if it's a new business that's never done analytics before, which platform do you think? Google would maybe be, I'm assuming, probably the best.
Google, Google search costs. To start those right away, it's free, because for like you're brand new, so you need to get SEO going. So the Search Console, Google Analytics, do those, right? And then you have to realize, does YouTube, is that a right strategy? What's the right strategy? And you won't know that until you know your customers, right? So we have two very distinct customers. Like, I do not have a social channel for our sock buyers. We sell a sock online for $25 a pair, and we sell thousands of pairs of them. I don't have like videos where people get on every week and they talk about their sock. They don't put their feet up on the YouTube. So that YouTube doesn't work for those, but we have other channels that do work for them. Okay. So so by knowing the customer, that's your starting point, and then we adapt our dashboards and our strategies for those customers. So we have two distinct customers.
That's awesome. So now if they wanted to just get started fresh for Google Analytics, would they just Google Analytics and then start from there?
Yeah, well, always be careful, because when you do that, there's going to be all these people who are scammers that you'll click on the link and it's actually some company that's tells you. It's like when you sign up for a company and you get all these things in the mail saying you need to register with them and send them $100, and you find out that was just like was a free thing on the Idaho State, right? So just go to analytics.google.com, analytics.google.com, right? And Google Search Console, I think it's searchconsole.google Search Console. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. And then the Google data, the Google Data Studio, I'd say sequence it. Don't do that yet. That's you got to be walking. You got to be running. Then you have a lot of data, and you want to look things different perspectives. Really play with the data. Usually companies, like I said, that was big billion-dollar companies. What I love about it is when you get to that level, before you're like, oh, kind of hit a roadblock. I'm like, I need to get to the next level. You'd have to pay a company to do that. Now they made this tool free. And they actually made it pretty easy to use. And they integrated with Google Analytics. Like, oh my gosh, this is like awesome. Yeah.
And so for the nonprofits that are out there, what would be probably your biggest recommendation for them?
So let's go back to where was that? So I would start with Google Analytics. I'd start with the Search Console. The Search Console is going to replace SEMrush. You don't need that yet. And there's companies you can go to that sell it. So like we sell that to small businesses and we white label it. You can do it yourself. What we do is configure it and everything, so you don't have to do that. So there's definitely companies that what you don't want to do is you don't want to sign this contract. There's a billion companies out there that say, give me $30,000. We'll get you on page 1 of Google, but you won't see anything for 6 months, but trust me. And then you get to 6 months and you're like, we're not on page 1 of Google. And then they have all these reasons, but pay us 6 more months and get better. And like, I've heard this sad story many, many times. So I would say kind of learn a little bit of that yourself. And there are companies that can help you with this, and there's definitely things you can do, but you want to be able to have visibility all the way along. Even at month 1, if they're, so when people tell you you're not going to see anything for 3 to 6 months, I disagree with that. I have done stuff and made differences in SEO in 2 weeks. Okay. So if you're on Facebook, the analytics, once again, are free. Same with YouTube. So those are free. So I would do Facebook, YouTube, if those are good platforms for you, and Instagram is Facebook too. And then the Search Console, and then Analytics. If you're interested, you can contact me. We can help you with Google Digital Dashboard. Now, this is going to bring in those things, but it puts it all in one place where you get like an executive report. You can see it all there, and we configure it and do some of the legwork to make it happen. And then we advise, okay, then we have other services where we can come back and say, well, maybe here's an example where I think PPC actually works, but it's not because it always works. But the data here now that we have this dashboard shows actually there's an opportunity. What I do, just so you guys know, is if a company says, hey, I want to do PPC, I want you to buy my Google ad, for instance, I'm going to do remarketing, whatever. Here's my number. I want to make, because what they'll tell you is, well, if you spend $1,000 an ad, I can guarantee you're going to get $1,200 in sales. What they don't understand is you have costs. You're a huge way. If your net margin is 20%, I need to make $5 in sales for every dollar I spend in ads. Right? And if you go to your boss and say, well, they're guaranteeing me I'm going to get $150 in sales for every $100 I spend in ads. If you don't know your net margin, you're going to get kicked out of your CFO's office really quickly, because they're like, well, that's fine. We can spend $100,000 and lose, I don't know, I can't do the math, but $30,000, $50,000. So you need to know your company's net margin and then go to that. So I tell them I want to make $5 return on ROAS, ROAS, return on ad spend for every dollar I spend. And then they're going to get like, oh, that's a lot. That's hard to do. Yeah, that's what it really takes to succeed in ad spend. Otherwise, you're probably wasting money. So you're gonna thin out the herd there pretty quickly if you do that. That's a high goal. That's a real. Now, I don't know that maybe you have a better net margin. Maybe you're a 50 net margin, right? Not 20. I don't know what your margin is. But if you don't know your margin, then you can't actually calculate your true return on ad spend. But it definitely isn't, spend $1 and get $1.20 back in sales. And that's what they all do. Big tip on that. Question? Anything else?
I think that's it.
So,
Great job,
you know,
Jim.
yeah, and I said, you know, where it's going is this automation, makes your job easier, but there's a ton of things that are in your control, whether it's your small business. I mean, the fact that these tools are available for free to small businesses is awesome. And if you just Google my business, Google has a whole set of tools. That's where, you know, I was helping promote that a little with them because I think it is good. They have a whole set of tools that will help you be successful, and those tools are free. So, you know, I would start there. You know, and the stuff that just doesn't, you know, people aren't on like these weird search engines and stuff. So don't get caught up on that. Play the 80-20 rule. To figure out where the majority of the business is there, start with the simple things, the free things, and start with the stuff that's going to be your, you know, that's going to solve your 80-20 rule, and you'll be, you know, mountains ahead. And then just keep it simple.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for, you know, going over all this. I know it's a lot, and you know, like you were saying, it's going to take a little time for people just to play around with it and learn the system. And
Hey, we're just a little yarn shop in North Idaho, Hayden.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
that's the tough thing. You know, that's a tough thing. I'll say this, Octavian. They're saying over 50% of the yarn shops in America are going to go out of business in the next year. They're already going out. This COVID has killed a lot of them. And it's very sad. So there's definitely, you know, and you saw, you know, like you back 30 years ago, everyone had a local hardware store. Now there's Home Depot and Lowe's. So, I mean, things happen, and, you know, there's some things that are in our control and some things that are not. My digital strategy for hers is to be the online yarn, to be the local yarn shop for you wherever you are in the U.S. So everything about our strategy is to be, and most of our businesses in New York and Florida and in the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
It's by far. That's where our business is not local, which is one of the reasons, unfortunately, we closed the store. When we looked at the numbers, that's where our focus was, and that's where we had. It was also for the safety of our staff and everything. But when we did close it for COVID, the numbers showed that we were much better off just focusing on this strategy as opposed to the other. And so all these things, the digital, the Facebooks, the Knit Club, everything, they feel in New York that we are their local yarn shop.
That's awesome. Great success story.
All right. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I'm just trying to show you the kind of the what we do every day. This is it. There's a ton of things I don't know. There's a ton of things I can do to improve. I'm always learning. So I'd love to hear any suggestions you guys have as well. But this is what we're doing, and we're right up the road from you.
All right.
Appreciate your time. That was awesome.
Oh, awesome. You guys take care.
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good job. You're a rock star. We'll have to have you do more of these.